Good evening, Internet. This is going to be the fourth episode in the Road to Chess Competence series, and this is the first game that is not live. So this is a game that I already played today, and I won't spoil the result for you, but it was a 15-minute game, and it was against a player who was at the time rated 100 points higher than me. I was a 13. Well, I guess this is my at the time ranking. Yeah, I was a 1355 and he was a 1431. I feel like he was higher than that. But anyway, he was at least 80 points above me. So I started with king pawn opening, and then I played knight f3 like I always do, very standard stuff. And this is actually the Philidor defense I learned when he plays this pawn to d6 here. So I looked it up and learned that White's best continuation from there is to thrust his pawn up to d4. So that's what I did, and this ended up being the first time that I beat the Philidor defense. So I guess in the future that's what I'm going to be doing. He brought his bishop out, pinning my queen. So I figured I would just ignore that and take his pawn on e5, and he went ahead and took my knight. So instead of messing up my pawn structure, I went ahead and took with my queen. So now I do have doubled pawns in the center, but I'm up a pawn, and now it's all even. So I bring my queen here, threatening to take the pawn and put him in check, and he brings his queen out to defend. And I'm wondering about this move. I'm thinking he might should have just brought his queen to, let me go full screen here, brought his queen to e7, and that would have saved him a lot of, well, maybe no, it would have been exactly the same. Anyway, he brings his queen out, and I'm able to shove my queen right into the heart of his defense, with ideas of maybe coming b7 and then gobbling up the rook and then the knight. So he defends. Well, first he has to move his king, and then I take the pawn, and he defends pretty well here with queen c6. I can't take his queen because of the knight. I can't take the rook because of the queen. I can't take the pawn because of the rook. I can't take the other pawn because of the queen, and I can't take the knight because of the rook. So things are pretty much at a standstill here, but fortunately for me, my one queen is tying down all 5 of those pieces of his, so that's kind of nice. And why did I move here? Oh, right, because he was attacking my queen. Let's see, yeah, that would be why I moved. Anyway, he comes back, takes the pawn, puts me in check. So this is his first attacking move, and he's on the attack for a couple of turns now. I defend with bishop e2, and he goes and takes his pawn, threatening to take my bishop next. So I play knight b3, which defends the bishop because of the rook now, and attacks his queen, and I think actually every piece over there is defended, so he's got to scurry on back to c6 to protect from my queen. So at this point, before I castle, I'm thinking that, well, his queen is here on this diagonal. I could just bring my bishop right up here and have him pinned along that diagonal. As soon as he moves, I could take the rook with the bishop. But I see this pawn move here. I realize that he could bring his pawn forward, and then if I took, I would be undefended. So what I do is I castle first, with ideas of bringing my rook over to e1 if he does make that pawn move. So I did a little bit of pre-planning, and luckily for me, he didn't make a move that made all my planning irrelevant. He made a move that was irrelevant itself. So he plays that, and then I bring my bishop here, pinning his queen, and he makes the pawn move as I predicted. So then I bring my rook to e1, pinning the pawn to his king, also threatening to take with the bishop and then be in the exact same situation we were before, where he loses a rook. So he plays knight f6, adding another defender to the mix, which makes my hopes of doing what I just described pretty low. And then I see bishop g5. So what this does is, of course, it pins the knight to the king now. So he has 2 pinned pieces here, and I'm threatening to do all kinds of damage on the next turn. He comes with h6, attacking my bishop. I'm not sure what the idea behind that move was, because, I mean, it doesn't really, I'm not sure, it doesn't do much for him. If I were him, I would have gotten my queen out of that pin, maybe brought it to well, not there, but brought the queen somewhere. I guess if he moves his queen anywhere, then my queen can come b7 and start gobbling. If he moves it off this diagonal. So I don't know if there was a good move for him. Maybe move his king. He could move it to here and unpin these pieces. Then I would check him. I don't know that this ends well for him, because if he just moves his king, then... Well, yeah, maybe he could have. Anyway, he played h6, and I took with the bishop. So his best move right here is to... really, it would have been to move his queen out of the way. And then I would take his rook with a discovered attack by my rook, and then probably go along and take his knight. But he was pretty fed up by this point, so he took with his queen, and then as soon as I retook, he resigned. So anyway, I just thought I would try analyzing a game I had already played instead of doing a live game. I hope you enjoyed it, and see you next time.